all. Everyone knows where this goes, right? The bin. Now, everyone knows where, just a second. Where this goes to, right? A plastic fork also in the bin. Same bin, same action, same word. Waste. But here's what just happened. That banana peel will be gone in 3 weeks. But that plastic fork, it will be sitting in a landfill when your great grandchildren are alive. 400 years from now, for something you used for 11 minutes. We just threw away 2 completely different things with 2 completely different futures and called them the same word. Doesn't that strike anyone else as insane? Because I've been thinking about this, probably too much. Honestly, my friends are tired hearing about it. But I have come to a conclusion that might sound weird at first, but I think is actually true. Waste, as we understand it, doesn't actually exist. It's not a thing. It's a label. And it might be the most dangerous label humanity has ever invented. Let me prove it to you. Let's play a game. I want you to think of this morning. Just this morning. From the moment you woke up to the moment you sat down in this chair. You woke up, your alarm went off on a phone wrapped in a plastic case, you threw off a blanket, 60% of modern fabrics are synthetic, that's plastic. So, you are literally sleeping in plastic. You went to the bathroom, picked up your toothbrush, plastic. Squeezed toothpaste from a tube, plastic. Some toothpaste literally contain microplastic beads. So, you are cleaning your teeth with plastic, using plastic. At this point, you and plastic are basically in a relationship and nobody asked about consent. Anyways, got dressed. Polyester shirt, plastic. Checked your phone again, more plastic. Ate something, plastic wrapper. Oh wait, let me drink some water. A plastic bottle. By 8 AM, before you even started your day, you had touched, worn, eaten from and possibly swallowed plastic at least 20 to 30 times. And here's the uncomfortable part. You didn't notice. I didn't notice. None of us notice. Because it's been designed that way. The entire system is built so that we use things and forget about them in the same breath. Use, toss, forget. Use, toss, forget. It's not even a habit anymore. It's reflex. And that reflex has built a floating island of garbage in the Pacific Ocean that is now twice the size of Texas. It has put microplastics inside human brains at concentrations 20 times higher than any other organ. They have been found in every single human placenta ever tested. We are literally being born pre-polluted. But I didn't come here to depress you. I came here to ask you a question. What if the problem isn't the materials? What if the problem is the label we slap on them the moment we are done? What if the word waste is where everything goes wrong? So here's something that blew my mind when I first learned it. The concept of waste. The idea that you use something once and then throw it away is about 70 years old. That's it. 70 years. For basically all of the human history before that, almost nothing was discarded. Cloth became rags, rags became paper, bones became glue, ash became fertilizer. Everything cycled. And not because people were saints, but because they were paying attention. They looked at materials and saw what they could become, not what they were done with. Then, on August 1st, 1955, Life magazine published an article called Throwaway Living. It showed a family, a man, a woman, a child, tossing disposable plates, cups, and cutlery into the air. The headline was celebrating it. Look how easy life is now, no more washing up. 70 years later, we are drowning in that revolution. So when someone says to me, sustainability is the future, I'd push back. Sustainability is actually the past. We knew how to do this. We just forgot. Because forgetting was profitable. Sustainability is not the future. It is something we were once smart enough not to need a word for. Now let me tell you something. I didn't figure this out from a textbook. I figured it out from my kitchen. I come from a family that is, and I say this with love, a little obsessed with not throwing things away. My mother would hear me say a little obsessed and correct me. She'd say efficient. Our kitchen doesn't produce waste. Vegetable peels go into the compost pile. The compost becomes manure. That manure goes into a garden. The garden grows vegetables and the cycle starts again. They don't call it sustainability. They don't call it circular economy. They just call it common sense. Every time I'd see my mother looking at onion peels and see fertilizer instead of garbage, and every time I would see someone throwing something away, a question would pop up in my mind. But what could that material still be? What could you still be? And one day I asked that about a banana. So, the banana plant, you eat the fruit, but the tree? After one harvest, the entire trunk is chopped down and left to rot. 6 feet tall and 30 kilograms. Globally, that's over 114 million metric tons of rotting banana biomass every year. That's for one fruit. And everyone, farmers, industry, government, they all looked at those trunks and said, waste. Case closed, next problem. We didn't. We looked at those trunks and asked what they could still be. Turns out, a lot. From that trunks, we extracted fiber, natural cellulose fiber, strong, flexible and biodegradable. And from that fiber, we made this. A banana fork degrades in weeks, not 400 years, weeks. Then this, and this. And here's the beautiful part, the philosophy behind it. Yes, the banana fiber will eventually decompose. It will rot and return to the earth as manure. That's not a flaw. That's the entire point. We are just borrowing one chapter of its natural life cycle and using it as a replacement for plastic. The banana fork serves you for the same 11 minutes as the plastic one. Then the plastic one haunts the planet for the next 4 centuries. The banana one gone in about 3 weeks. Feeding the next cycle. Same job, wildly different aftermath. Now you might ask, was the process easy? Was it smooth? Was it elegant? Was it a beautiful montage of us succeeding gracefully? No. Our first batch of fiber smelled like something had died and then died again. Our cutlery snapped if you looked at it too hard. But the thing is, we made those bags, cutlery and baskets from a material everyone else had already declared waste. And that is the real lesson. Not look what I built, But look what was already there that nobody saw. Now you might ask, is this a one-off? Cool banana story, but is this just one example? No, it's not, and that's what made me go from interested to obsessed. In India, temples generate 8 million metric tons of flower waste every year. Sacred flowers, roses, marigolds, jasmines, offered to the gods and then dumped into the river Ganga, the very same river they were meant to honor. One startup, Fool, started collecting those flowers and turned them into incense, organic dyes, and biodegradable material that replaces leather. Temple garbage becoming leather. All these stories have the same plot. Someone looked at something the whole world had written off, and instead of seeing garbage, they asked, what else could you be? In none of these cases was the science the hard part. The knowledge already existed, the materials were ready, the only thing standing between waste and resource was the label and the courage to peel it off. We have been told for 30 years to reduce. Reduce your consumption, reduce your footprint, reduce, and look, reduction matters. But we have been reducing for 3 decades and global plastic production has doubled. Clearly, the guilt approach isn't scaling. It just makes people feel bad and then order takeout in a plastic container on a random Tuesday because they just had a bad day. But reimagination, that's not guilt, that's not sacrifice, that's curiosity, and curiosity doesn't burn out the way guilt does. In fact, curiosity is the only real renewable energy source that actually works in humans. And maybe reuse begins exactly there, in looking at something long enough to find out that it still has a second life left in it. I'm not going to stand here and tell you to save the planet. You've already heard that speech. I am going to tell you something different. Right now, today, within a mile radius of where you're sitting, there is something everyone else has agreed is waste. In a dumpster behind a restaurant, in a pile behind a farm, in the bin under your desk. But it's not waste. It is a material waiting. I just want to ask you for one thing. I just want to ask you for 1 second. Tomorrow morning, when you throw something away, you will, I will, we all will, just pause. For 1 second, look at the material in your hand and ask, is this actually done? Or did I just decide it was? Because that 1 second pause is where every single story I just told you began. Not in a lab, not with special funding, not with a degree, but with someone looking at something everyone else was throwing away and thinking, wait. I started this talk by throwing away this banana peel. But this banana peel can become compost. That compost can become a garden. The garden can grow vegetables. And the trunk of the tree that grew this banana, it can become a bag, a basket, a cutlery. Nothing here is waste. Nothing was ever waste. We just stopped looking too soon. Now, let me ask you a final question. What if waste isn't waste? I think you already know the answer. Thank you.